Hello and welcome everyone. Today I'm bringing you guys my January wrap up as well as my February wrap up. And that is just because I never got around to posting my January wrap up. So I figure we'll put them together. We'll go from there. And yeah, you guys can see how frustrating my reading has been. And also if I'm constantly messing with my bangs, it's because they're too long and they poke me in the eyes. And the last time I fixed them myself, I cut them too short. So, anyways, let's jump right on into this. So, the first book. So I've got my computer here, so it can tell me my list. So we're gonna start with January's wrap up. So the first book that I finished in January was To Spy a Star by Jonathan Navarre. This is book 2 in the Agent Renault adventure series. And these are like mystery, sci-fi, action books. So there are lots of action. Characters are great. Jonathan, if you're watching, who said you could do less poems? Who said Lelaine could do less poems? Because I didn't. One of her quirks is that she'll be in the middle of like an action battle scene, like fighting her opponent, and she'll be like, I have a poem about this, and she'll recite it in her head right then and there. And it's one of my favorite like quirky little personalities traits about her. And they just make it so fun. But yes, lots of action. Overall, I gave this 4 stars. I will try and get an actual review video up for it individually. But again, action-packed. Love it. They're fun. They're quick. They're easy to get through. And yeah, if you like mystery and you like sci-fi and you like action, it's like those sci-fi mystery, like James Bond kind of things. It's like that, but definitely lots of fun, worth checking out. After that, I read the romance book Marked for Mayhem by Susan Hayes. This was the second book in her Alien Fated Mates series, and I gave this a 1 star. I gave it a 1, and that's also where I DNF the series, because I'm not here for insta-lust. I want romance. I want to actually see the characters come together and bond and actually feel like they're in love with each other and not look at each other and go, I want to bang her. I love her. That's not romantic to me. After that, I finished Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. There is a review for this on the channel. I will link it down below. But overall, I was not impressed. This is the second book by Saint that I have not been impressed with on her vision of retelling a Greek mythology story. It unfortunately just fell pretty flat. And on top of that, Atalanta fell to the background in her own story compared to the men. It was weird. So yeah, I have one more to read, Electra. And if that one ends up being not good, and I end up giving it a low score as well because I gave Ariadne a low score, I will not pick up Hera because she has a Hera book coming out this year. And if Electra is also not great, I'm gonna call it quits with Saint. So moving on. After that, I read Fist of the North Star Volume 9. I enjoyed it. I didn't like some of the things that happened at the end of it. They just felt kind of unnecessary, and also like there was a lack of real effort put into it because a character just kind of appears, makes a declaration, and then dies. And you're like, what was the point of that? Like, and the worst part is like, it could have been something had the character been introduced earlier and their declaration like made sooner, but because it was all done within like 5 pages, it was weightless. So yeah, I'm still going to continue with it because overall I do like it. Then I read Sky's End by Mark J. Gregson. This is a YA and it is 5 stars. It is fantastic. Pound, he's one of the boys in this book. He is my son. I will love that boy. I will protect him with all of my heart and soul. But I do have an in-depth review on the channel, so I will link that down below. But this is absolutely totally worth your time. If you have teenage boys who have been trying to find something and they can't find something in YA, boom, right here. They will love this. The romance is like this much. It's just a cough in the wind. So then I read The Tale of Clancy the Scrivener by Ramsey Shahada. I'm probably saying that wrong, so I apologize. But this was a short story that Tor had up, and overall I thought it was fine. It had interesting elements in it, but I think because it was so short, it really couldn't be as immersive as like you would have hoped it would have been. It started out on like the really slow, boring side, but I stuck it through since it was only like 50 pages. It was 30 pages, I'm sorry. But yeah, it had like some zombie-ish elements, which could have been interesting, but overall it was just kind of like, it was a short story. Then I read Taken by the Hunter by Linnea Lee. This is the third book in her Zarkin Warriors series. And I buddy read this with my bestie, and this is the one in the series with the squirrel. The Zarkin warrior, he adopts a squirrel. And it's his little buddy. Overall, like, it was enjoyable. I gave it 3 stars, so like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like blow me away. I also don't really remember too much about it. Honestly, that's what we're gonna go with. I remember the squirrel though. After that, I read The Stitchers by Lauren Lawrence. This is the first book in her Night Watch series. It is a middle grade horror, and I gave it 3 stars. I thought it took way too long to build up to what the horror was involving the elderly people in the neighborhood. I also felt like there was the blossoming love story between the preteens that were in the story. I felt like it overshadowed too much of the story. So whenever I read middle grade books, I try to imagine myself as if I was still in that age group. And if I was 12 and I read that, I would have been annoyed because I was interested in the horror aspect, not these 2 kids who were crushing on each other. So yeah, it kind of like dragged it down. The first half of the story, like, you got through it pretty quickly, but then like as it kept going, it just felt like it was taking forever to get to what the supernatural element, the horror element was. And then when it did finally happen, it was so short-lived that the payoff just wasn't worth it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be continuing with that series either because there's 2 more in it. So I got it through the library, so if I want to, then at least it's through the library. After that, I read A Wolf in Space by Alex Valdiers. This is the first book in his Ryoki Gang universe. That's the word we're going to use because he has like over 40 books planned for this. It's very ambitious, and I wish him all the luck in the world. Ultimately, it was not a book for me. I had a lot of issues with it. I do have a written review for it, so I'll link that down below. But overall, there is a lot of potential, and there is a lot that can come from it. And the best part about my reading experience with that book was after I did the review, he actually contacted me and thanked me for my input and my being like very constructive in the problems that I saw within the book, as well as pointing out some things that could end up being a really big issue later on, that he has actually decided to go into the book and edit the book and remove said problematic features. And he said it was, because of the feedback that I had given on the book. And I thought that was really fantastic. And, it just shows that he actually like really, really cares about his craft. And I can really appreciate that. It's a sci-fi Western, which was why I was interested in it, because I wanted to give that a really big shot. And like I said, there's a ton of potential there. I can see it. So hopefully, since he's got so much planned for it, we'll see like that growth that can appear in the writing. Then I read Cherished by the Hunter. This is book 4 in the Zarkin Warrior series by Linnea Lee. And this one, I gave that 4.5 because this was This was Evie's book. I was so excited to read Evie's book because she reminds me of me. She doesn't curse. She'll be like fiddlesticks, fudge, oh, hockey sticks, things like that. She does the edited swearing, and I do that on a regular basis. So, and then she gets partnered up with like the older, experienced hunter guy or whatever. But the best part about it is the fact that they communicate. There's no miscommunication trope up in this book. They communicate, and they communicated very well, and I really appreciated that Linnea went that route and actually had these characters talk about their fears and their issues, and then actually listen to one another and give each other like devoted attention to figure out how they can make the relationship work, and I really appreciated that. And then after that, I read Rescued by the Hunter by Linnea Lee, book 5 in the Zarkin Warrior series. By the way, I'm buddy reading the entire Zarkin series with my bestie. But this one was fun. I remember that it does tackle some heavier topics like domestic abuse and selling your wife into prostitution. It deals with that. That one kind of takes you by surprise a little bit there. But Corvin, the hunter, the male love interest, he's adorable. He's fantastic. He's also the selfie king of all the aliens, and it's adorable. So I did enjoy that one. I gave it a 3.5 because there was some things that I didn't care for too much in it, but overall it was good. I enjoyed it. So that was everything that I read in January. I tried to get through it as quickly as I could because there was quite a bit. February is a much smaller amount because I did struggle a bit more in February. So starting out in February, I finally finished Shades of Wicked by Janine Frost. This is the first book in her Night Rebel spin-off series from like her other series, which I have not read. I don't know what it's called. But I very much absolutely positively enjoyed this. I loved the lore, the world, the characters. This is very much a slow burn. And one of the things that I really appreciate about these older romance books compared to a lot of what you can find on Kindle Unlimited is the intimate scenes are based around passion as opposed to like kinky and I don't know the other word that I can use to describe like how the sex scenes are done in a lot of the Kindle Unlimited books, but like this was just like it was very passionate. Like you could tell that the author was like really like you're gonna know these characters are like in like they're falling in love with each other. But the action, fantastic, like so much action in this. There's still so many secrets. This is a trilogy that's following one couple, so I am looking forward to that. So I have started the second book, but yeah, just fantastic. I loved this. Then I read Gog Magog by Jeff Noon and Steve Beard. There is a review for this on the channel as well, and I absolutely loved this. You guys can find all of my happy little ramblings in my review, but this is fantastic. It's weird, it's odd, it's strange, it's everything that I love in a book. So definitely go pick it up, go give it a shot, give it a try. You're not going to be disappointed. Then I read Red Rabbit by Alex Grecian. It's in the middle, like it's a 3-star. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I was disappointed. But I do see the things that are good about it. So I have a review coming up for this on the channel where I will dive into a bit more about all of my thoughts all together. Overall, I'm at least like, I'm happy I read it, but I'm also happy that my pre-order failed to go through, and so I don't own it. So the universe was looking out for me that day. Then I read Hunger as Old as This Land by Zachary Rosenberg. This actually ended up being a DNF. It was a Western novella that I picked up during the horror free day or what. I don't know if you guys have all heard of Kindle, like the Kindle free day for romance. It's gotten super big all over TikTok last year, and so a bunch of different genres tried doing their own days as well. So there was a horror day, and I picked that one up because I like the appeal of Western horror. Unfortunately, I DNF'd it because it was really dry. Like the writing was just super, super dry. It was taking forever to build up to something. It was like 100 pages, and I DNF'd it around 40-ish%, and the horror aspect had only like showed up in like one page. But also the dialogue was frustrating to read because the author could not pull off the Western accent well for his characters. So that made it very frustrating. And then the writing, the prose, it would flow, and then it would get choppy, and then it would flow, and then it would get choppy, and then it would and it was weird, and it took me out numerous times, and it just ruined the immersion of reading the book. So I ended up just DNFing it and calling it quits. Then after that, I read The Phantom Toll Booth by Norton Juster. This is a classic, and I hated myself the entire time that I was listening to it because I read half of it, and then it got to the point where I was like, I don't even want to read this because like I want to go clean my kitchen. That's how bad this book was. I wanted to go clean my kitchen, you guys. So I grabbed the audiobook and put that on, and didn't help. I cannot tell you anything about this book aside from the fact that I would never recommend this to a child, and this is sold in the middle grade section at Barnes & Noble. I would never. This is torture. Absolute torture. And I don't care if you disagree. I don't care if it's your favorite. It's torture. Especially that whole chapter with numbers. Get out of here with that. Then I read The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers. This is a DNF. I DNF'd it at 48%. I super disappointed. I thought this was going to be like this really cool, interesting story about like this king who's got like tentacle legs and he's dressed in yellow. It's about a book called The King in Yellow that makes people go crazy. The first story is absolute torture. Like, if you wanted to torture somebody with a book, you can just do the first story in this one, because it's absolute torture. It's just a bunch of gibberish, honestly. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, because apparently this guy is the reason cosmic horror exists, and I don't understand why. But yeah, that first story didn't actually get good till the final 2 pages, and then I was like, oh, there's the crazy. And then after that, it was a bunch of love stories that some of them connected back to The King in Yellow, and none mentioned it at all. And I was like, I thought the point of the book was you read a book called The King in Yellow, and it makes you go crazy, and now they're trying to get these books like off the, like, it's like, you know The Ring? You know the movie The Ring? If you watch this video, you will die. Like, that's the basis. Like, that's what it's supposed to be, only it's a book. Like, this book exists inside of this world, and I'm just, no. It was terrible. It was terrible. And I'm honestly, like, kind of mad about it because I almost bought that book. And then, like I said, I learned through Trinity's Discord that he's actually considered, like, the creator of, like, cosmic horror. Like, everyone, like, they give him the credits for it. I've always thought it was Lovecraft. I'm gonna be 100% honest with y'all, because he is the only name I've ever heard associated with it on a regular, constant basis. I have never heard of this Chambers guy. So I just thought he was just some random, like, white guy who wrote a book and was considered classic. But apparently he's so much more than that, and I just didn't know. I just didn't know.
Hey, hello. So editing Alyssa here, and I actually realized I left out 2 books from my February wrap up. So the first one is Yellow Jessamine by Caitlin Starling. This is a gothic horror. I actually really, really enjoyed this one. It's a pretty short story. It's like novella length. My favorite thing about this book was watching Evelyn's like descent into her paranoia based off of her fear and anxieties that were going on within the town. She had a lot of things that she like over the years became more and more and more scared of, and had more anxieties building up around them, while also trying to like protect herself from the men around her that wanted to obviously take everything away from her. And watching her like just kind of like spiral out of control was so good. And just it was really addicting in its own kind of way, and I really, really enjoyed it. The other one that I read is the classic The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. This one is actually where I was told Yellow Jessamine was inspired from, and it's like a 30-minute little book, like audiobook, and it's free online to read because it's in the public domain. But I enjoyed this one too. It's one of those stories where you see the woman like descent into madness, only this one is based off of like this wallpaper that's on the wall in her bedroom. And I noticed a lot of other people were saying like, oh, it's probably because of like the lead in the wallpaper or the walls or something that just kind of like drove her crazy. But what was really most interesting was like the minute the turn happened, it was like almost so flawlessly at the end that like it took me a second to register. Hold on a second. This just like changed. And I really appreciated that. It was done really well. I'm pretty sure there are other people who could speak on it so much better than I can, but I definitely enjoyed it. And like I said, it's like a 30-minute audiobook. So it's definitely worth just like jumping on and checking it out and just seeing what it's about.
And then I ended the month out with reading the short story Tales of Lunis Aquaria by Tessa Hasterjanto. I know I said that wrong. I'm so sorry. This was cute. Overall, I give it it's like a 3.5. The first story is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. It is so gentle. It is so just breathtaking, and I was like, this is just so calming and gentle, and I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm here for it. I'm like, I'm gonna love this. And then the next story just slaps you in the face, and I was like, what is this whiplash and tone change? Why did we do this? And then every story afterwards is like that, and that first story, it gives you a false sense of security, and then she just like slaps you around with the content in the other ones. And I was like, why are you doing this to me? What did I do? But they're very good. They're very good stories. I will say only one story actually legitimately made me mad. And it was the sea one. Like, they're out like, it's like, I'm trying to remember the name of it and I don't remember, but it involves like fighting a giant squid. But, like, the story starts out with, like, the kid, like, looking at something in the forest. And I was like, and then it ends, and you never find out what the thing is in this forest. What's the thing in the forest? Like, I don't care about the kraken, the squid, whatever. I don't care about that. What was in the forest? Like, I am legitimately angry about that one story. Like, what was it? Like... Why did you, like, I was so interested. I was like, oh my God, we're going to find out what this thing is in the forest. And then it just never, I don't know. So yeah, that was my experience reading that one. The feelings were all over the place. It is definitely good. I don't know what other books Tessa has written. Cause that's the only one that I own by her. So I'll probably look around and see what else they have. But it's definitely worth checking out. It's got some very cute stories in it. I would say my favorite one is the one with the wolf. But yeah, that was how I ended out the month. Lots of feelings. Lots of feelings. So hopefully, moving into March, I'm really hoping that I have more like good books. 'Cause I need some good books coming my way. I do. I feel like I've had a really rough year so far. There's been a couple of gems, but overall, the not so great really does, like, it outweighs the good so far. So yeah. But if you guys have read any of those, let me know. Comment down below, like, subscribe, all those good things, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.